We are now witnessing what many would regard as an extinction-level event for the Conservative Party. Not metaphorically, but mathematically. Polling places them fourth, and that's not just a typo. Behind Labour, behind the Lib Dems, and most astonishingly of all, behind Nigel Farage's Reform UK. The YouGov poll released on May the 20th, which I covered, reads like a political obituary, and as the dust settles, there's more and more noises. Reform on 29%, Labour on 22%, the Lib Dems on 17%, and the Tories on a staggering 16%. 16. I can say that again for people who didn't fully appreciate 16%. The last time the Conservatives performed this badly, Theresa May was Prime Minister. Brexit was chewing up political careers like a wood chipper. And Farage was merely between stunts. And on that point, Mr. Hunt, Jeremy Hunt, was very much in evidence. Now, there's talk not just of electoral collapse, but of obliteration. And people are now using that word. It's not just me. Extinction-level territory. That's what one senior Tory has said this week. This is not just hyperbole. According to the electoral calculus, these numbers could translate into just 17 Tory MPs. That's fewer than the SNP, fewer than the Lib Dems. Reform UK would be the largest party if the polls played out as they said. They won't. But if that were the case, that would be not a catastrophe. That would be the political catastrophe of the last 2 centuries. So what's gone wrong? Well, Kemi Badenoch, mostly. She was hailed as the future of conservatism, God knows by whom. She now finds herself presiding over its possible funeral, and her polling is not just bad, it's subterranean. Conservative Home's latest internal survey of party members ranks her popularity at 0. She has slipped to 14th place in her own shadow cabinet. And what's extraordinary is the way she manages that shadow cabinet. Nobody knows anything about anybody except for her. In response, party members are drafting letters, unsigned but sharp, urging her to resign. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. And one such letter put it plainly: introduce fresh blood or allow reform to take our space. Brutal, but quite true. And that's the reality. And into this febrile atmosphere steps the ghost of Christmas past, Boris Johnson. Let's change the sofa. Yeah, that Boris, the one whose premiership ended in disgrace and soiled stationery, not soiled stationery, soiled sofas anyway. The one who still insists he didn't attend a party even when photographed next to the cake, which I didn't eat. I didn't even get a chance to eat it. According to polling in More in Common, 60% of Tory voters, and more surprisingly 50% of Reform voters, would back a Johnson comeback. And hypothetically, his return would increase the Tory vote share by 5 points and slice off reforms. The logic? He alone might out-Trump Farage. It's a bizarre position. The man who helped break the Conservative Party may now be the last hope of its survival. Of course, there's a snag. He's not an MP. He can't lead the party unless someone finds him a seat fast. Probably in some safe Conservative hamlet in the Shires, where they'll forgive him for almost anything as long as he promises to deliver the bins and keep the migrants out. And even if he returns, it's not 2019 anymore. The public has a longer memory than the ERG believes. And what of Jacob Rees-Mogg? Well, he emerged this week like a cassocked prelate at a séance, solemnly declaring on Newsnight that it was time to talk electoral pacts with Reform. Well, of course, he's mates with Farage. They do GB News together, a remarkable moment. Rees-Mogg, a Tory since the days of Thatcher, is now publicly urging unity with the very man who has spent the last 5 years dismantling his party from the outside. But he's not wrong, and he's also apparently even considering defecting himself so that he can stand for his old seat. If this is a fight for survival, purity is a luxury that Rees-Mogg has decided he can no longer afford. It is, however, a gamble with the party's soul. Reform is not just another right-wing party, it's a populist insurgency. A pact may save seats, it may cost principles, and in the end, they may simply postpone the inevitable collapse. What then of Kemi Badenoch's position? Her defenders claim she inherited a poisoned chalice. Well, so, yeah, fine. But she took that choice and she took that chalice, filled it with lighter fluid and set it ablaze. On the defining issues, migration, housing, the economy, she had offered sound bites instead of substance. And when the party needed gravitas, it got slogans. And she's tried to reform. So has Labour, for that matter. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Even the much touted replacement Robert Jenrick is hardly a saviour. His sole credential is in resigning when Rishi Sunak didn't go full Farage on migration policy. And the polling shows his elevation would make things worse, not better. To his credit, he can string a sentence together. This isn't just about leadership crisis, it's about a death rattle. So the broader observation, the Tory party, like all great institutions, believed itself eternal, too big to fail, but electorates change and the centre ground migrates, and parties that fail to evolve die. And what we're watching is not just Badenoch's failure or even Sunak's before her. It's the collapse of a political brand that has lost coherence, direction, and above all, connection with reality, with the people, with itself. It may be that electoral reform, so long resisted by the Tories, is forced upon them by the cruel logic of collapse. And it may be, ironically, that in the long run that saves our democracy even as it buries the Conservative Party. As for Boris, well, he may return, but it would be as a Lazarus lurching from the crypt, not as a Messiah walking on the waters. He has charisma, but he also has baggage. And not the kind you can leave on the carousel, not the kind you can... I don't know whether that's a Mary Poppins carousel affair, a merry-go-round, or whether it's the luggage carousel in an airport. But you can't leave that there. You can't. Boris has got too much, and the polls don't lie. The party is in free fall. The leader has fallen, and the future belongs to whoever can write the next chapter, not relive the present one, or not revive the one before that. It's about going forward. It's about moving on. It's about breathing life into the party, not bringing it back from the dead. So I'm not completely sold on the idea that Boris is the answer, but that's certainly what's being touted around in the back corners of Westminster corridors, and it's emerging in the media as well.